Ah yes, it's time for another album ranking. Today we are ranking Deftones. That's right, Deftones. Now I've heard all their discography and I'm going to give you the weakest album to the best album. A lot of people will be pretty pissed off with my ranking. That's okay. Now what I want you guys to do before I do my ranking, comment below your favorite albums by Deftones. It's all open discussion here. Just say whatever you want to say. Everything is welcome on this channel. Comment below if you want to kill me. I embrace death. Let's get on with the ranking. Deftones are a hit and miss band for me, as we all know. I really love some of their albums, and I really don't like some of their albums. Well, there's only one album that I don't like. We're gonna get to it straight away. And this is everyone's masterpiece. Everyone loves this album, but I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it, how this is a masterpiece. I'm not trashing this album today, because I have trashed this album a lot in my videos. I'm gonna tell you why I don't like this. Try and tell you why I don't like this. And it is White Pony. Now, White Pony is an experimental album by Deftones, as we all know. They really changed the sound from Around the Fur and Adrenaline. Around the Fur and Adrenaline were a lot new metal. This was on the experimental side of prog rock, hardcore, progressive rock as well, and even incorporating elements of shoegaze. So you'd think I'd actually enjoy this album. Well, my mate said to me about 4 or 5 years ago, he said, listen to this album, it sounds fantastic, it sounds like Korn, the riffs are fantastic. So I heard this album and I said, yeah, no, I don't like this album. And from then, I have given this album so many tries, it's not fucking funny. And sometimes I can't even finish this album, unfortunately. This is the only Deftones album that I cringe, just like this video. This video is cringy as fuck, but I cringe when someone says White Pony. Listen to White Pony. My favorite song off the album would probably be Digital Bath. That's a good song. But I just can't get into the song Knife Party, with Chino's crazy screams and like incorporating those operated vocals on Knife Party is just distasteful in my opinion. Digital Bath, Elite's a good song as well. Oh, though Passenger, which is also featuring Maynard, tool I can vibe with, and I do enjoy the song Passenger. Look, this album is slowly growing on me as I'm listening to more Deftones, but at the moment I feel that this is the fucking weakest album by them, and a lot of people will say this is their favorite. But you know what? Fuck you. I am going with my gut. I am not bowing down to the masses. White Pony goes last. Next up is Deftones Self-Titled. This is a good album and it's a big improvement of White Pony in my opinion. It really is. It's a lot calmer, it's more cohesive, but of course there's also some experimental shoegazing moments on this album. Really enjoy the song Hexagram, along with Nirvana, and also When Girls Telephone Boys. That's a great song. Not to mention some really nice guitar riffs, some really nice grooves throughout this album, and the drumming is absolutely fantastic. Really enjoy Chino's vocals on some of these songs, but it's definitely not their best album in my opinion. I just feel the production is just a little bit off on this album. Certainly a lot of things aren't balanced on this album, which is unfortunate because this would have been a really good album. But yeah, Deftones is another album that is slowly growing on me, but who knows, Deftones White Pony may rise a little bit higher in the near future. Don't know. Next up is Saturday Night Wrist. It's a step up to Deftones in my opinion, stepped up to the self-titled album, step up to White Pony. Really love some of these songs like Whole New Earth, Cherry Wave, and also that strange interlude is pretty cool as well. Rats, really good song, along with Pink Cell Phone, very cohesive, they are quite free-flowing. Do love the guitar riffs, do love the really nice bouncy moments, and it's quite catchy, it's quite melodic. Chino's vocals are at times very dynamic, and I'm talking about really dynamic on this album. He really experiments on his vocals, not as crazy as his vocals on White Pony. He really utilizes his crazy dynamic vocals on this album. That song Rapture is another great song. Overall, the sound of this album is actually pretty good. It sort of has a new metal feel. You can tell that Deftones are creating their own genre with this album. But yeah, this is a good album by Deftones. Next up is Gore. Well, this is their album before Ohms, and this was actually a pretty surprising album in my opinion. I just feel like this is one of the strongest Deftones albums. A lot of people will disagree. Do love the song Prayer Triangles, love Acid Hologram, and Doomed User. It seems like they really dialed in that guitar tone, and the production is okay in this. A lot of people shit on the production, I believe. But yeah, some of these songs are quite catchy as well. I do love the slow moments on this album, but Doomed User is a really good song that I really love. I actually really like that song, along with Gore as well. It's an interesting album overall. I do love the dimensional feel on this album. Like, Deftones really, again, have so many different layers that you have to dissect. Chino's vocals are a lot calmer on this album. I gotta admit, they're a lot calmer. They're not as crazy as the other albums. Yeah, I actually did enjoy this album. A lot of people have this album last. I'm gonna give Gore some love, and it's going right in the fucking middle. So how's that for you? Next up is Adrenaline. This album really took me by surprise. This is a full-on new metal album, and I just love the flow on this album. It really reminds me of Korn, to be honest. It really does. Not to mention the riffs are very catchy. Nosebleed is one of the catchiest fucking songs by Deftones. Really love the song 7 Words. Bored's a good song. Bored, I'm bored. Yeah, I love that chorus. I love how catchy and melodic this album is, but yet it still holds true to that new metal genre. You can tell that Deftones started off new metal, and it's amazing to see the transition to what they are now, because you wouldn't call them new metal now. You wouldn't call them because you wouldn't call them new metal now, would you? No, you'd call them something else. I don't know what you'd call them, but yeah, some really cool songs on this album. I really dig this album. I think this is a really fun album. Fire Real's a great song as well. Production's very thin at times, but the next album after the debut album is a whole lot better in my opinion. So next up is the latest album, Ohms. Good album, it really is. This is a very good album by Deftones. I really do enjoy it. Love the songs Genesis, Ceremony, Urantia, and Era is a very new metal song throwing back to Around the Third Days. Really enjoyed The Spell of Mathematics. Pompeii is, well, probably is my favorite Deftones song. I just love how interesting that song is overall. This Link Is Dead really reminds me of something out of the self-titled album. Radiant City is a good song. Really love the use of those synthesizers throughout that chorus. So Headless is an okay song. And then Ohms is a good song as well. So pretty solid tracks on this album. It flows like water, flows like a current, and Ohms definitely needs to be appreciated by the Deftones fans. Love how heavy this album is as well. It's a pretty heavy album. Chino's vocals are fantastic on this album. A lot of people shit on his vocals on this album just because it's got a distorted effect or something. But if you hear a lot of other Deftones albums, he's always got that distorted effect. So I don't know what the fuck people are on about. But yeah, his vocals are good on this. They really are. And the production is good as well. So fuck anyone that thinks that the production is shit on this, because it isn't. It's actually a really good album. And I've jammed this many times. Over the past month. And yeah, it's a really fun album by this band. I just love the emotion that Chino conveys on this album as well. A top-notch album by the band Deftones. This is an album where it's like Adrenaline, except it's Adrenaline times 100, and we're talking about Around the Fur. Fucking fantastic album. I love every single song. I love every fucking song on this album. My Own Summer, Be Quiet and Drive, Lotion, so many amazing songs on this album. Really enjoy it. Love the chunkiness, the heaviness of this album as well. The guitars are very meaty, and it's absolutely fantastic album. The melodies are there, it's catchy, and that's what you want. That's what you want from a Deftones album. I love how catchy this album is. I'm not too sure with the last song, MX, which is a hidden track, which is like 38 minutes long or something, and basically it's got the song, and then it's got like silence for 30 minutes. I don't know what the fuck they were doing there. But yeah, I love it. It'd be probably up there to be one of my favorite new metal albums. One of my favorite new metal albums of all time. It's an absolute classic. If you haven't heard Around the Fur, what the fuck are you doing? Check out Around the Fur, because it's a lot better than White Pony. Next up is Diamond Eyes. So Diamond Eyes is an awesome album. Absolutely adore it. It's catchy album, you could say, by Deftones. It's melodic. It's absolutely awesome. It's got catchy choruses, got amazing verses. Chino's vocals are really good as well, aggressive at times, but yet he dials that emotion up to 100 as well. Really love Diamond Eyes, Sex Tape, Rocket Skates, really awesome songs. Overall, this album is a killer, and it's my second favorite Deftones album. And I just love the production on this album. Production is sweet, and it's just the ongoing flow of this album just flows like water. It's really tight and a very cohesive album. Yeah, Diamond Eyes is so much different to the other albums out there, but they also incorporate a few elements of the other albums, like I hear some sounds from White Pony, from Deftones and from Saturday Night Wrist. A really good album by Deftones. Next up is No Yokan. This is my favorite Deftones album. Absolutely fucking love it. This is the first album I listened to after White Pony because I thought I'd give him another chance, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Swerve City, so damn good. I just love how heavy and gritty this album is. Levers, again. And then you got Rosemary, which is a beautiful long song. Chino's vocals on that are fantastic. They incorporate the elements of shoegaze on this album, but they really, really refine the shoegaze element on this album. They really refine the heaviness on this album. It's definitely one of my favorite. Tempest as well. Yeah, this album is absolutely fantastic. If I'd give it a rating, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. It's definitely a great introductory album in my opinion, because I just love how easy listening it is. It's fun, it's heavy, and I just really enjoyed this album. No Yokan is a masterpiece by Deftones. Really love it. It's a lot better than White Pony, a lot better than any of the albums I have mentioned. This album is the top tier album by Deftones in my opinion. This is a great album by Deftones. Not to mention the guitar work on this. Chino's vocals are really good, and just the dynamic feel, the multi-dimensional vocals he has on this album is just top notch. It really is. I'm really looking forward to what Deftones comes up with next. It's definitely a hit and miss band for me, but of course I have to give you my album ranking because I did listen to the whole discography and I thought most of the albums were actually pretty good. But if you don't like a band, open your mind and expose yourself to that band. You may actually like them. Like, I'm not going to run out and buy a Deftones shirt. No fucking way. Maybe in the future I will, but not at the moment. But I'd probably buy a No Yokan shirt, maybe, or a Diamond Eyes shirt, or a Round of First shirt, but not White Pony, man. Nah, not White Pony. But on the other hand, I'm really looking forward to Deftones' future albums because I do love their new sound. They have perfected their sound. The experimental stage of Deftones was way out there, but I still do respect their experimentation because a lot of bands don't bother to experiment. For bands that don't experiment, I feel need to experiment with the sound. Who gives a fuck what fans think? I really love how bands experiment with the sound, but sometimes bands that do experiment are a hit and miss for me. Bands that experiment, like Testament, with going to death metal, was absolutely fantastic. It really was, in my opinion. But a lot of people would disagree with me, of course. And a lot of my fans on this channel have made me listen to Deftones, have made me to open my mind to Deftones, and I do appreciate that, by the way. So yeah, comment below your album ranking. Do you agree or disagree with my opinion? And I will see you in the next one.